I married my best friend, and that's why it works, because it's beyond just the sexual attraction.
It's also hard to date with intention, because that's the main thing to do, right? You want to date with intention. But listen, bro, I'm 34 years old. Sometimes I'm chilling at home on a Friday night. A girl's like, hey, let's go grab dinner or whatever. I know that that's not the girl that I'm going to end up working out with, but I'm like, man, this girl's pretty. I'm going to go. Hey, I didn't know you had 54 units here. He's like, yeah, I do. And the one's next door too. I'm like, what? You want to sell them? No, bro, never selling them. I'm like, all right, well, you know this is what I do, so let me know. A year later, hits me up. Yo, need to get rid of them. Let's buy something else. I've done, I don't know, maybe 10 million with him alone.
Do you think you've met like Mrs. Right? She got away at some point? Welcome to another episode of the Love and Cashflow podcast. I am blessed to have one of my most special guests because they're bringing something to the table that I'm personally not familiar with, but from afar I've been able to see him build what are called enthusiast cars. He's also done over $30 million in real estate, commercial real estate, and it's something that I guess we've known each other for over 15 years, I think now, or of each other for 15 years, and I'm just super excited to have here Ricky Boada on the podcast, my brother. Thank you for coming through. Sorry for the awkward.
You're good.
Yeah, my man. But thank you for coming, bro. I wanted to come here to Miami to meet with a couple people. And you're one of them, you know, Giancarlo Aguilar, who's in the background. Also, he came through for the pod. We had an amazing pod as well. We have a couple more. But I really wanted to come to Miami because it's still home for me in many ways. This is where I grew up. And, you know, I've met a lot of you guys out here, so I wanted to kind of like rekindle, even though we haven't talked like this in many, many years.
It's cool. This is great to catch up and see what we're both up to, man.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate it. For sure. No, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming by. So first and foremost, I usually like to start off the podcast with asking, I'm sure you've played Truth or Dare back in the days. Okay. Right? But instead of Truth or Dare, is love or cash flow? What would you like to get started with today?
Let's go with love.
Let's go. What did I tell you, bro? Every dude starts with love. It's almost like, I don't know if it's a thing where it's like, just get through the love part and then just talk about cash flow after. But yeah, let's talk about love, man. I love that. No pun intended. So when it comes to, you know, like living in a city like Miami, right? And we were talking about, you know, with other people that live here, especially single folks, then guys that I've known for many years and they're still single. And like, how hard is it to find love in a city where, you know, beautiful people are constantly here? There's always, you know, there's temptations, maybe falling into the wrong relationships. Like, how hard is it to be? Are you single currently?
I'm single.
Yeah. How hard is it to like, I guess, find Mrs. Right?
I think it's pretty hard. It's weird, you know, because when you want to date, as for me, I go out and I date a bunch, and then sometimes if you overdate, you end up feeling very empty, and then you may find somebody that you really like, and the timing is wrong, or then you just end up liking the idea of them. But if you really think about it and step back, you're like, this is not going to be the mother of my kids, or this is not the person I want to be there as my partner for growth, you know? Because there's so many things that you have to think about, and I'm sure you're married and you've gone through these things, and I think all guys go through these things, you know?
For sure.
But it's tough over here, you know? I mean, I haven't found the person that I'm like, wow, this is it. Like, this. And I think, you know what? I mean, dude, my dad, my parents have been married for 40-something years, you know, 50 years.
So you got a good example.
Yeah, and they met, and 6 months later, they've been married, and they are literally like fairy tale couple. Oh, wow. And I think that's probably going to happen to me too whenever that time comes, where I'm like, I meet somebody, you just know.
Right. No, for sure. I believe it for you as well. But I know that because we live in a place. Did your parents meet each other here in like Miami?
No, in Venezuela.
In Venezuela. Because
completely different times.
Right. Completely different times. But also considering the fact that here I'm now living in Charlotte, North Carolina, as you know. But I always tell my boys here, my friends, is like, you guys are like spoiled here as far as like when it comes to how beautiful people are here. Both men and women, like they're just a higher standard for like everything when it comes to that, which makes it more difficult because now you also have to look not just the exterior, but like the interior and how people are, you know, mentally. Are they going to add value to your life?
And you know what's messed up? You can get caught up in the visual aspect of things. Right. Very easy. Yeah. It's happened to me. It's happened to every guy that lives in Miami, I'm sure. Yeah. And I don't know how deep we can get into this podcast, but somebody told me something the other day, and Can I curse here?
Yeah, you could curse.
You sure?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, something happened the other day, and my buddy said something, and it resonated with the truth. It's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But, you know, full transparency. And he was like, man, it's kind of messed up how good sexual chemistry will last longer. Like, if you compare good sexual chemistry and bad personality, like that relationship will last longer than if you have a good personality, like match, and bad sexual chemistry, which is so kind of fucked up.
Well, I think that that's based on what each person wants, right? Like, if it depends on if someone is so sexually driven that that's their, you know, their driver, like all they need from a relationship is having great sex, then sure, yeah. But if someone wants more so a relationship where it's long lasting and you could build something with and be in a partnership and all these different things, the motives are gonna be a little bit different, right? So I agree, but I also think that it's perspective and based on each individual person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So when it comes to, you know, the fact that you're here in Miami, right? And then you've obviously met a lot of beautiful women and all these things. Do you think you've met like Mrs. Right? She got away at some point, or it's just never?
No.
She's never come through.
No. If I would have met her for sure, I would have done everything I can to try and be with that person.
Yeah.
And there's times where I thought I have met them, and then as a guy, you know, you try and go the extra mile and you try and do everything. It doesn't work out. Right. Every single person, probably, you could be whoever you want, has gone through a heartbreak, you know? And then over time, you end up thinking to yourself, wow, I'm glad that didn't work out.
Right. What would you say, I guess, would be like your end all be all? This is the type of quality woman that I want for you to be like, okay, I'm done with like the single life. I'm ready to commit.
Somebody that I find myself I can grow with. Well, one, I'd have to be attracted to them because I know that goes away. But even is just somebody that I feel, you know, attracted to.
Yep, that's good.
Personality-wise, the same. And then, man, it's crazy. I've had the opportunity to be with women that are very, very wealthy, and the same with women that don't have anything but are grinders, you know. And sometimes it sucks to see those things in that way, but people are like, "Oh, how can you not marry this girl?" And I'm like, "Dude, that does nothing for me." You know,
when they're describing like a woman that has a lot of money or something, or
call it somebody that has a lot of money, that does nothing for me. I rather have a girl that I have a strong connection with, can be a business partner. Maybe we're even in completely different industries, but we can just bounce ideas off each other.
Right.
And she could be open to you know, hey, look, I want to buy this property. What do you think about this? Yeah. And they have an open mind to it and even be willing to learn. That's so much more valuable than somebody that, you know, just has a bunch of money because their family does.
Yeah. No, at the end of the day, you want to marry your best friend, right?
Exactly.
Like for me, I can truthfully say here is like, I married my best friend, and that's why it works, because it's beyond just the sexual, you know, attraction. And because that's what, like you kind of alluded to in the beginning, where like that can start the conversation. Like, oh, she's pretty. I wonder what she's really like, right? Because you obviously have to have, I'm a big advocate and believer in that. It's like, yeah, she might be a great person, but you better be attracted to them too, because at least, you know, you got to have something going, right?
Yeah.
But I do truly also believe that once you become best friends and you're able to trust one another and, you know, give each other advice in areas and really take it as a constructive versus
the best feeling ever.
Yeah, versus competition. Because a lot of the times I'll see where there's even couples, married couples, that they're in constant competition with one another versus being like, yeah, we're a team. Let's go out here and make things happen together. Yeah. Have you experienced that?
By the way, I'm just going to say this is a first podcast for me I ever speak about this stuff.
There we go.
Yeah.
Amen. Let's go.
It's very different. You know, this is something that most guys will shy away from, even these conversations at all.
100%. And that's why we created the Love and Cashflow podcast, because it's very symbiotic, right? Like I'm a believer that if you find your significant other and they're truly someone who's going to help you get elevated, your cash flow is going to follow that.
Yeah.
Like I truly believe that because of where I'm at today is because my wife was able to facilitate me in so many other areas. Like I'm out here doing podcasts while she's over there helping with the kids and raising our kids, while I'll come back home and I'm working at the office and she's holding down the fort in the home. Yeah. And it allows me to be able to focus on the things that are going to elevate us as a couple together. But I for sure wouldn't be where I'm at.
Admirable.
Thank you, man. But that's the reason why we started this podcast, because you're absolutely right. A lot of guys, especially, they'll be after the money, after hustling, after, providing, which is what we should do. But it's so much more significant and so much better when we have someone there by our side that we can say, hey, we built this together. Kind of like, she was shooting with you in the gym type of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So when it comes to that, right, like loyalty, building something of significance, what would you say, like, I guess the top qualities, the top 3 qualities in a woman that you would say, okay, I'm ready to like commit? Like what would you say?
For sure, loyalty. I think that's a very important one. Companionship, as far as like not just loyalty, like that person's just all for you, but companionship in the sense that both of you guys match. It's amazing, and I think most people have experienced it when you're dating your best friend and you guys just finish each other's sentences, and you guys are both on the same level of communication. And number 3,
would you say like family values is important? Like
huge.
Having close family.
Yeah,
close, because you are you're pretty close to your family, right?
Yeah,
like
I'm really
parents,
close to my family.
Like you told me that tomorrow you're going like on the boat with the family and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
right.
I was gonna go out with some friends, and my niece called me and she was like, hey, I want to go on the boat. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that's not even a question for me. Like, I treat them like my kids, I'm like, okay, cool, you can come. And anywhere that I am, like, I feel like they should be welcome to come to. Right. So I'm taking them, and my sister's like, hey, what do I hear about these plans that you guys are going on the boat? I'm like, oh yeah, we're all going on the boat. She's like, I want to go. I'm like, all right, cool, no worries. So now I'm like,
it's a family affair.
I'm like, dude, let's go.
Yeah. So you're very close to your family. Therefore, I'm sure when you start your own family, you want to be really tight and close as well.
Exactly.
How would you say, is it important for you for your wife's family to be close to your family? Is that a thing? Have you ever experienced that?
I have no idea.
You haven't gotten that far where like families have met?
Only when I was very young that I had like serious girlfriends, and then we would even back then like do family boat days. So like my family would bring out their boat.
Oh, nice.
My girlfriend's family, and then like till this day, one of my ex-girlfriend's families I'm pretty close to, and like my dad and her dad still talk and all these things, and we're talking about 15 years later,
Right.
Where like I have no ties with that whatsoever, but good families meeting is a plus.
What would you say would be like the ideal place here in Miami to like find Mrs. Right?
Oh my God. Bro, if I knew, I wish I could say it. I have no idea.
Would you say like churches in Miami? Would you say, like, I don't know, because
I have no idea, because there's people that I think it's just a matter of right time, right place, because somebody can go to South Point on a Sunday to see the sunset, and they're just there laying on the blanket, and you think to yourself like, oh wow, this person's very into the outdoors and sunsets and this and that, and you have a conversation, you tell your friend like, bro, and this is what she likes, and and it's their first time there. Same as me. I could be doing that, and she's like, oh, I want a guy that's grounded and does all these things, but it could be my first time there too.
Facts. No, for sure. I don't know, because that's something that I feel for my single friends all the time, including you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it is hard out here in Miami, because you have the distractions. You could be wasting time with these beautiful women when that they're not going to be the mother of your children or any of that stuff. So I feel for you guys. I will say that.
Yeah. It's also hard to date with intention, because that's the main thing to do, right? You want to date with intention, but listen, bro.
If you've been wanting to start an Airbnb business but don't know how or where to start, I've made a brand new mini course condensing our most recent 6-hour-long workshop into a jam-packed starter course. In this 7-day starter course, you'll learn the problems and mistakes I see rookies make when starting their Airbnb business, my 3 pillars of success, namely how to scout and pitch landlords to let you rent their properties to then list them on Airbnb, instead of having to spend thousands of dollars on getting started by buying a property. My Airbnb price strategy overview, which like me can help you make over $1 million on Airbnb alone. My automation process, which will give you the time freedom and allow you to work on your business instead of in your business. I'll guide you step by step through setting up your very own Airbnb account and mock listing to have ready for your first property. And lastly, I'll show you how to add the same guest message templates I've refined over the years for both quick replies and scheduled messages to effectively communicate with guests. And on top top of all of the jam-packed education, I'm also throwing in my Prohost profit calculator, access to Airbnb's earnings potential tool, my house rules templates, my Amazon shopping list, my Prohost budgeting tool, and more. This education derives from 3 years of running a profitable Airbnb business, automating it to where it runs itself. If applied, these can help you instantly get partnerships with landlords and turn a passion for real estate investing into an extra income or even a full-time business. Students who have taken this starter course have claimed that they've learned more in these 3 hours of content than they did scavenging for answers in the internet. But no, we're not going to charge you thousands of dollars like others would. You can join today for just $27. So click the link below to sign up and get instant access to everything, apply what you learned, and get immediate step-by-step guidance and your mock listing set up or your money back. I'll see you there.
I'm 34 years old. Sometimes I'm chilling at home on a Friday night and a girl's like, hey, let's go grab dinner or whatever.
Yeah.
And I could be working, I could be doing whatever. And I know that that's not the girl that I'm going to end up working out with, but I'm like, man, this girl's cool. This girl's pretty.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, you know?
Right.
And it's kind of fucked up because sometimes you're sitting at dinner and you think about these things. And I'm saying it because it happened to me last night where I'm, on a date with some girl and I'm thinking to myself, I'm wasting time and it's going to be late. And tomorrow I want to wake up really early on a Saturday and hit the gym, you know? But at the same time, what am I going to do? Just stay home every Friday night. And when these things happen or these opportunities come up where it sucks to say pretty, but like a pretty girl hits you up and says, hey, let's go grab dinner. Right. Are you going to just say no? Right.
Yeah, no, it's, I think that's where we would draw the line, right? Because if we already know for certain that that's not the one, then yeah, like what am I doing entertaining this? Like, sure, I can have a one night, like hang out and, have fun or all of that. But then what if Mrs. Right comes and I just slept with this one chick and I'm like, what am I going to do if with this situation happens? You know what I'm saying? So I know it's hard to navigate.
And also there's times where you for sure don't know, but then you end up, I've had girlfriends where I'm like, whatever, and then you end up having a great connection with them.
Yeah, it's a tricky world.
Do you leave that door closed or do you leave it slightly open because there may be a chance, even though you think not at this time?
Right.
It's all messed up, man.
Bro. I feel like Einstein needs to come out back and figure this stuff out.
Yep.
But no, cool, dude. So let's transition into like the cash flow side of things now, right? Where I know that you've been doing like commercial real estate for quite some time. Would you say like that's your main gig right now, or what would you say is like your main breadwinner?
As a entrepreneur, which I consider myself, I would say like that's my full time. Cars are my full time. There's so many of full time things that I'm always constantly looking into. Brokering deals, also trying to buy deals for myself.
When you say deals, you mean like real estate deals?
Real estate deals. Car deals as well too, because I just flipped a car this week. That those are things that I don't plan for, but sometimes like people have different hobbies, and one of my hobbies is going on the marketplace and just looking at things. And sometimes like I look at something, I'm like, wow, that's a good deal. I buy it, and then I know I'm not gonna keep it, but I buy it, do some things to it, and then sell it. Right. Make just a couple bucks.
And it could be the car, it could be properties, right?
Car, properties, ATVs, boats, whatever. Yeah.
Because you already are passionate about all things motorized, from what I can tell. Like anything that has an engine, like you're in there.
That's my thing.
What would you say is like your most favorite, vehicle that you have purchased?
So I have a favorite, and then I have like sentimental. So for example, like my Jeep, I've bought and sold it 3 times.
The same one?
The same one, and I bought it for $5,000, and I was like, man, if I can get double 10, I would sell it. This was when $5,000 was this was I don't know, 10 years ago. Yeah. And I put it up for 13, and a guy came and gave me the full 13, and I was like, wow, okay, I just more than doubled my money. Yeah. A year later, my friend started getting Jeeps, and I was like, dude, I need to get the same Jeep back. So I called the guy, and he's like, oh, I don't even live in Miami. It's in storage. I haven't driven it since the day I bought it off you.
No way.
So then I ended up buying the car, and I was like, well, I don't know what condition it's in. He's like, it's just in the same. I'm like, listen, I'll give you $8,000. He's like, all right, let's do it. So I bought it for $8,000. Dude, I had it for a couple months, and I was like, it's leaking oil. It's doing all these things. I don't even really care for it anymore. If I can get 13 again, I'll do it. Put it up for 13, not even like an hour later, it sells again, and then it's
for the 13.
For the 13, yeah. And
Yeah.
then it's just been that cycle where now I've bought it back again for 8,000, right?
Uh-huh. No way.
Well, I tried to buy it back, and crazy story, the guy murdered his wife.
No.
Yeah.
He's in jail
Yeah.
now?
He's in jail.
Oh
so
my-
I tried to buy it back, and the guy would always tell me, like, oh, give me 2 weeks to think about it. Give me 2 weeks to think about it. Then the guy stopped answering me. And I'm like, what's going on? I Google the guy. He's in jail.
What?
And then, you know, as a broker, go FBI mode. I find the guy's dad's number. I call him. I'm like, hey, listen, Adam has my Jeep. Oh, which one? I'm like, the red one. What's it look like? I didn't know the guy had an addiction to buying cars. He was buying like 300 cars a year.
Really?
Yeah, he was doing Medicaid fraud as well. So he was just
gosh.
like racking up these cars. I'm like, I need to talk to Adam. I need my Jeep back. Guy gives me a call back. Hey, I saw Adam this weekend. He says he needs 2 weeks to think about it. I'm like, what? So point is, I somehow end up getting that Jeep back for 8,000 again.
No
and in
way.
my mind, I'm like, dude, this Jeep has paid for itself and made me money. And
Yeah.
now I have it back. And it's one of those cars that like
It's sentimental at this point, right?
sentimental. And every time I drive it, I'm like, this is a vibe.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like even if I get tired of it, I'll probably put it away for a couple years or something, but never can sell again.
Yeah,
you know?
no, you literally have the car for free now because you've made at least $9,000 on it, right?
Yeah.
You bought it for 5 originally.
Yeah, 5 and 13, then
Yeah.
8, 13,
Yeah.
8, 13. Like
That's a
it's
crazy
just-
story. I've never heard of anybody selling their car and buying it back even once, let
Yeah.
alone 3 times.
Multiple times, I know.
That's a wild story. So that would be the sentimental one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what would be your favorite?
Favorite is a car that I'm building right now, which is a 69 Camaro, I don't know, 1,200 horsepower. It's going to be like a complete beast, big single turbo. And it's
Okay.
just like building the car of my dreams of something that's like I haven't seen done before, which is big power handling. Like literally you check all the boxes of what you want when people go to the Ferrari and they start like checking everything like, give
Yeah.
me these seats, give me this, give me that. I'm doing it with a build of a 69 Camaro.
Wow.
With still leaving some character. So instead of making it like beautiful and pretty and everything perfect,
Rugged?
I'm leaving it pretty rugged. So like patina, like original paint on some areas, so it looks like a little bit beat up.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look a little bit beat up, but it's not whatsoever a low dollar
Right.
car, you know?
Right.
All
How
the
much
parts in there.
you're estimating it'll cost to build it all out?
I'm in it like 150, and then I still have probably like another 20.
Really? 150 grand?
Yeah,
Damn.
I know.
That's insane.
I know,
dude.
which sucks because I've always seen the Porsche 911 as like my glory car.
Right.
And I was gonna buy one and it was like 130, and I was like, no way, I can't spend that type of money on that
yeah.
car.
And you're already in 150.
And I could have financed that, and this I've just been like dishing things out, you know. But it's also building a car that's a dream car for me.
Right. And
That I
then
don't expect to sell ever.
What? Oh, you don't. But if you did end up selling it,
I could probably get 200 for it.
200, even though you'd probably be in 170, so you'd get like
I could
30?
probably make maybe even 220 for it.
Yeah. That's insane, bro.
I've had like good sponsorships on it too.
Oh, okay, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. That's
Yeah.
on the cash flow side of things. Like I know that you are like partnered or sponsored by Valvoline, right?
Yeah, Valvoline.
Valvoline?
Valvoline, yeah.
Valvoline. I've never. Okay, I've been saying that my whole life wrong.
It's cool. A lot of people have Valvoline,
Valvoline,
Valvoline. It's cool.
yeah.
I think it's depending on where you're from.
Where you okay? That's probably why, because I'm Dominican, so we say
There you
everything
go.
wrong. No, but how does that sponsorship? Is it considered a sponsorship or?
Yeah, it's a sponsorship.
Okay, how does that even work? Like, what are the perks? What are the benefits, if any? Like,
Man,
what are the?
perks are awesome because the perks is it gives you credibility in the community, you know,
Okay.
and then
What can you do with the like credibility in the community of like, I guess automotive?
So call it like there's drift events where I want to join.
Okay.
And I'd say, hey, look. Well, first of all, not even that. Call it you want to work with another company, and you say everything is sales and you trying to achieve new things, right?
Right.
So it doesn't all fall on my lap. So call it I want to work with the turbo company that sponsored the full build for the Camaro. I call them and I'm like, hey, listen. I'm doing this. I'm already working with this company. I'm working with this company. And
You have leverage now.
I have leverage because they already see that you're working with big brands.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So aside from that, then they also pay me just to represent them.
Okay.
And then it's like a win-win.
So
I
they-
honestly would, I hope they don't hear this, but I would do it for free just because of the perks it gives.
Yeah, because the notoriety, you get to like leverage their brand too, because
Exactly.
it's very known brands. Do they also like give you free oil and all that stuff, or
I mean, oil, bunch of merch,
tires, and
shoes, everything.
stuff? Oh, really?
Like,
Anything for your cars that you're like?
I've asked them for budgets, and if they approve them, it works out. So like,
Nice.
for example, I was like, hey, look, I need another 10,000 for the Camaro, and they said okay.
Oh, nice.
So things like that.
So that's super cool. Yeah. So they don't sponsor the vehicles; they sponsor you and everything associated with the automotive industry.
Yeah. So like, I've held a Cars and Coffee that was a collaboration with Ricky Boada and Valvoline, things
Okay.
like that.
Super dope. And what does that like entail when it comes to like what do you have to give in exchange? Just wear the brand?
No. So there are
exclusivity?
deliverables.
Yeah.
Call it. I have to. I don't know. It's changed. I've been with them for 4 years, so every year it changes depending on the contract. But
Yeah.
for example, 6 stories a year, 6 posts a year.
Okay.
2 TikToks, stuff like that.
Okay,
And
so-
then they will. I don't know if I'm sharing a little bit more than I should, but
Yeah.
call it, for example, if I need to do something for Hispanic Heritage Month, that I need to go shoot a special video for that,
Yeah.
then they give me an extra budget on top of that as well.
Oh, okay, cool. So they'll also kind of like subcontract you also to kind of be a part of
Yeah.
events and stuff like that at the same time.
Exactly.
But that's because you also do like real good content. Like your quality is really good, by the way.
Oh, thanks,
And then
man.
it's
I
like super
appreciate
entertaining. I remember this one that you did. It's a classic, and I've seen it a couple times. Even after like we got you scheduled for today's podcast, I'm like, let me go like get a refresher. And this one that you popped out of, is it the same Jeep? You popped out of the Jeep,
Yeah.
and then you're like dancing, and then
Yeah.
you pour water on. Bro, that's a classic. Like you need
Thanks,
to
man.
repost that.
Thank you,
because
thank
I think
you.
it'll crush.
Yeah.
Because
I
that
mean,
video.
that video has, I don't know, like 3 million views or
3 million views.
something like that. Yeah.
That's wild because there's not really any like there's no, you don't really see the car much. Like you can tell almost that it's a Jeep.
It's just
but
the
it's
vibe.
about it. But it's the
like
vibe.
good energy, and I
Yeah.
think that good energy coming across the screen, like
Yeah.
I've had messages of people sending me like, "Hey, I send this to my family chat every single Friday." And I'm like, "Oh, that's
For
super
real?
cool, you know?
That's
Yeah.
dope. That's dope. Would that be one of the, like your first like viral videos, or do you had other ones?
No, I think one of the main videos that put me on a map is when I grabbed the Rat Rod and I made a video that was called Rat Rod versus Ferrari.
Okay.
And it was just me driving around the route with my friend that has a Ferrari, and we were comparing cars to one another, you know?
Dope. And was that like on YouTube or Instagram?
On YouTube, yeah. And
On
that's
YouTube.
got over 3 million videos as well, too.
Oh wow.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's when like sponsorships started reaching out.
Oh, because shortly after that you started.
Shortly after, I started getting a bunch of emails and like, hey, we want to work together and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
That's crazy. Did you ever think that you would be able to monetize your? Because you never did it with that intention. Like you genuinely have.
I mean,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I've liked and I've been doing these things since I was a little kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like even remote control cars when I was like 5 years old, I'd take it apart just to see like
The
to
insides.
try and fix it, and then I'd
Yeah.
take off the wheels and put them back on. You know,
That's crazy. Did you get into like RC cars and stuff too?
I've had a couple RC cars, yeah,
Yeah.
but I always liked the big cars. So I bought my first car at 12 years old.
12 years
Yeah.
old? How did you even get money at 12 to buy
Bro,
a
because
car?
you know how it is when you're a little kid, depending sometimes like, I don't know, it's your birthday, so your aunt gives you $20.
Right.
And then, you know, your other aunt gives you $20 and this and
Yeah.
that. And I wasn't spending $1 because, I mean, you're a kid,
Yeah.
you know, like you're,
So you were
10 years
saving.
old, and I would just save and save and save and save and save. And I would literally just put it all away. And then there was a car that came up, which I would always go to Old Navy with my mom, and I would be like, yo, this truck is so cool. And then I started looking them up, and they were all pretty expensive. And there was one for sale for $1,500 in Alabama. And I told my mom, like, look at this. Well, I told both my parents, like, look, $1,500. They're like, how much you have? I'm like, bro, I think I had like $1,200. So
They put
spot,
the three-
yeah, they were like, all right, cool, you know.
Spot you the 300?
Yeah, bro, great parents, and they supported like what I like, you know.
Yeah.
So instead of buying me, I don't know, something else that could have
Yeah,
cost
like
them
Nintendo
300
64 or something.
Bro,
Like that's
Nintendo
what you should
64
have.
was $300. Like,
Yeah.
instead of doing that, they were like, all right, let's go buy this guy a car
Because that's what
And-
you wanted.
Yeah, super bad. And we drove up to
Alabama?
Alabama the
From
same
Miami?
day, the same day.
The same day?
Yeah.
Bro, your
Slept-
parents are on another level of
Well,
parenthood.
because they were like, all right, have you talked to the guy? I'm like, I already negotiated it. Like,
You were
I
ready.
had done all the homework, and I was
Yeah.
like, all we have to do is go get it. And they
Really?
were like, you already spoke to the guy? I'm like, yes, I spoke to him. My parents didn't speak English. And then somebody from Alabama, they didn't speak Spanish. So I
Right.
was doing all the translation.
Yeah.
And we went. There was a big NASCAR race or something, so we couldn't find a hotel. We slept in the car, wait till U-Haul opened, got the
That-
trailer, picked up the truck, brought it back, and then I got dropped off in middle school. I remember like we made it right on time where I got dropped off with the truck in the back and I was super happy. I was like walking to class and I'm like, this is sick.
Bro, but your parents on a level elite parenting, because I don't know of any other parent, including myself, that would drop everything on a dime to get my 12-year-old son a truck that he can't even drive
Bro,
legally.
I was really passionate. And to be fair, I've been a good kid. Like, I didn't give him much trouble. I just liked motorsports and things that had a motor all the time. Like, I was a kid to always just be playing outside, like making my go-ped faster and stuff like that, you know?
That's super dope. That's a great story. I've never heard anything remote. Bro, you've had like really good stories, man. You don't share these on Instagram. You should have your own podcast.
I should. Well, I'm starting one.
What would you? Oh yeah, dude. Can you say the name yet or no? Do you know
I
the
don't
name?
know. I've only shot one episode, and I just said like, "Hey, I'm Ricky Boada, your host." And,
oh, there you go. We need to get a dope name for it for sure. And I'll help you with that.
Thank you.
Just give me like one night.
For sure.
Tonight I'll probably be like, boom, download. Yo, Ricky, it's this.
Yeah.
No, but I love that, dude. And what would you say? I guess is like your next. Well, what are you aspiring now that you know that you've been able to build your personal brand to a point where now like brands are wanting to work with you and all of that? Where do you want to take this? This episode is brought to you by our partners at Wealthy Creator, the go-to experts for entrepreneurs looking to elevate their personal brand and unlock new income streams. With their proprietary Pineda method, you'll get a tailored blueprint. You'll master content production and discover monetization secrets that work. Don't just work hard, work smart, and let Wealthy Creator guide you to your next level of success. Visit the link in the description below to learn more and start transforming your personal brand today. Now back to the episode.
I don't know if it's just a male thing or no, not a male thing. Males and females, but something that I don't know. I have so much drive that I'm not content at all with where I am. Right. And sometimes I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you know, man, congrats on your success," and I feel like haven't even
touched the surface of
it. So it's just about going ham. I want to start the podcast, and solely not even for monetary reasons at all. It's just share stories. Not even drop knowledge, because I don't consider myself like a guru or anything like that, but just to
have conversations,
share experiences like we are today, you know?
Yeah. No, I think that there's so much value there. And for me, I'll be honest with you. Yes, people will monetize their podcast. They can have freaking Celsius. You see them Happy Dad and all these. You can monetize it that way. But when you go into it with the right mindset and with the right expectations of what you want out of it, it could have longevity. For instance, for me, I knew that I needed to build content or make content because of my business, right? But what I love about podcasts is that I'm able to either rekindle relationships that I haven't had in a long time, like you and I. Like, yo, let's chop it up. Let's talk. We haven't talked in so long. What are we doing in business, in the loves area, and all these different things. But also reach out to random strangers that probably have awesome stories, that are willing to sit down and also have, you know, great conversation. So from a networking standpoint, especially if you're someone who's a people's person or your business depends on building relationships, like podcast is like a cheat code, bro, especially nowadays, because now everybody's going to be starting podcasts, which I love. It's good because everybody has something different to say, their own personalities. You can't compete with unique, right? Yeah. But
it's also good when the passion meets, call it the cash flow.
Boom, exactly.
I've had a lot of clients from my car world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That they end up buying some commercial real estate or something like that? Or?
I mean, I've been making cold calls, and one time I was making cold calls, boom, 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 and I see my friend Michael's number pop up on my phone. On like as I'm dialing the number, you know,
that you had met from cars
that I've known from the car world. I call him. I'm like, "Hey, I didn't know you had 54 units here." He's like, "Yeah, I do, and the one's next door too." I'm like, "What?" You know? And I was like, "Well, you want to sell them?" "No, bro, never selling them." I'm like, "All right, well, you know this is what I do, so let me know." A year later, hits me up. "Yo, need to get rid of them. Let's buy something else." Boom. I've done, I don't know, maybe 10 million with him alone.
Wow.
So,
and is commercial real estate similar to like as far as commissions as a regular real estate, like 3% average or whatever?
Depends. It all depends on the pricing.
Oh, okay.
You know, so once you get really high up there, you may be at 1% or
half a point or
half a point if it's a super big deal.
Yeah.
You know, or they can be really big deals and still be 3%.
Oh yeah. So it depends on the terms that they're willing to pay, I guess.
It also depends on the relationship that you have as a broker with the seller.
Okay, cool. And what would be, I guess, like the biggest deal that you've closed?
I don't know. I've done I've done an 11 million. I have a $19 million listing now that I feel like I'm almost there on coming to terms.
And what is that like?
It's a shopping center.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the bigger the deals, the easier it is in commercial real estate. And sometimes it can get complicated, but generally there's this sweet spot where you just put the deal together and then link up the attorneys. And as long as you're in the room and you're kind of, burning any fires that may come up, but they're the ones that are doing most of the work. And the buyer and the seller don't mind paying the attorneys on such a high dollar deal. Right. Because they want to protect themselves too. So it takes a lot of work away from the actual broker.
Oh, okay. So it's way easier when you're dealing with bigger, I guess properties, simply because these people have money to spend on making sure that the deal goes well.
Yes.
In essence, right?
Exactly.
Cool. No. And then when it comes to, would you say that that's like your day to day though? Because obviously the car stuff. And
so I do a couple of hours of that a day for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a mentor when I was first starting, and I think everybody should have a mentor.
Yeah.
And this guy told me, he's like, look, if you make at least 1 hour of calls every single day, you'll have business for the rest of your life. And I've been doing that. And sometimes I see when I fall off the boat that I don't do that, and then you dry up a little bit.
Like your pipeline is dry.
Pipeline is dry, and then you hop right back on calls, and it may take a couple of days for you to hop back on other deals.
Yeah.
But that's what I've found is like the sweet spot to make it work.
Now, would you say that you would always continue to be in the real estate space at some capacity?
So I do want to be in the real estate for forever, I think, but not brokering deals.
Right.
It can get tiring to always be chasing.
Right. Would you say like you'll be in it, like you investing into your own properties?
Yeah.
Or do you have any properties?
I have.
You
have
do?
a duplex, and I also bought another house during the pandemic.
Okay.
They actually today just sent me the plans. I'm doing like a luxury style duplex.
Oh, nice.
And split it up.
So you're gonna demolish what's currently there, or
demolish
is
what's
it land?
currently there? It's a 7,500 square foot lot. Demolish what's currently there, and then build a 4-3 and a 4-3 on each side. The plan is to just sell one side.
And you live in another?
No, and then just maybe like Airbnb or rent out the other side.
And that's here in Miami?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I would crush it. What area is it in?
Right on 27th Avenue and by US 1.
Okay, so it's good location.
Amazing location.
Great
Dude,
location.
I stole that.
You stole that? I was just gonna say.
I stole that property.
You stole it because it was like a bad?
No, I stole it because
the land is good, but then the
I
property?
stole it because it got sold to me as a land deal that it was just a family that got handed down properties, and they were just liquidating, and I got word of it. It was off market, so I was able to negotiate it. I got it for $250. It had to be a cash deal.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I was trying to fight the taxes because the taxes kept going up, and I called the county, and they're like, "Hey, look." So I bought it for $250, and the county's like, "Oh, is the house worth at least $489 or something like that?" Which is like what they were running my taxes off of. And I was like, "Look, if I got to tear down that little shack that's on there to pay less taxes, let me know, because this is land value." They're like, "Yeah, no, land value is $489." And I was like,
yo,
wow, okay. And then, I've already gotten $500,000 offers on it. And
so you could technically flip it now
flip it,
and double
up.
your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's way bigger potential when you start developing.
Yeah.
My dad does construction, and it's just something that's what I think is next for me, like to start dabbling developing and dabbling.
So your dad does construction like ground up, like is he GC?
He's a GC, and I don't know. He's built 20 homes by the beach already.
Oh,
He does
big projects.
projects.
Definitely the type of.
And
dad
he's
you
been
wanna
telling me like, let's go.
Yeah.
And for like 6 years, I've been like, it's not the time yet. It's not the time yet. And dude, you can't run like that. Be scared of the economy and all these things. You have to time things right.
Yeah.
But if everybody else is just going hard and making a lot of money doing this,
right, for sure.
Kind of have to jump.
And
on
I
the
feel
boat.
like with real estate, because that's something that we have in common with real estate. As long as you're planning to hold the property for a longer period of time, you can't lose. Like you can't. Like you can go into a bad deal today, and if you hold it for long enough, it's going to be a good deal.
For sure.
Right? If you're trying to flip it and all of that stuff, it's a different story, because if you get a bad deal and you try to flip it 3-4 months from now, it's a completely different story. But it's crazy how it's kind of gone from, you trying to, get double your money for the Jeep, and then now you're like at a point where you can double your money on a $250,000 piece of land.
I know.
It's a long way.
It is. And sometimes I think about doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's tempting, right?
Yeah, because there's other deals that come up that I could use that money for. You know? There's
That
a
are
deal
bigger?
That are bigger. There's
Yeah.
a deal right by Key Biscayne that is a possibility. I'm like talking with the family, you know, who's man, you find these deals, unfortunately, when call it like the grandparents are 106 years old and then they end up passing away, and
Right.
then the
They
kids,
don't know what to do with it.
The kids have no interest in it. They're
Yeah.
like, sometimes it's weird. I've talked to clients where they're like, oh, my family left me these 128 units and what a headache. I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then we end up, you know,
Wow.
selling them and things like that. But that's when the deals come up
Yeah.
that if you can, you know, find a way to purchase these,
Yep.
even if they're a little bit over your budget, to find a way to do it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. If you get hit with an option where you flip this one piece of land and you make double your money, now you have 500K to put into a bigger property that
Yeah.
then can yield you, you know, 1.7 mil, 2 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Then yeah, you might have to like
I know.
bite that bullet.
This one in particular that I'm talking about is 1.3 million. That's like what I think I could probably buy it at. And the house, I mean, you put a little bit of money into it. All the houses around there are selling for 4.5, 5. So it's
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a no-brainer. Like, all right, I got to do it, but then
Yeah.
I probably have to do this. So I'm
Right.
right at that fork where today they sent me those plans.
Yep.
And also,
Dang. So it's
do I go
decision
this
making
other
time.
way? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what
No,
makes you grow.
That's really what makes you grow. And also it helps you really internalize like what are your goals, because one thing I've learned now in business that I've caught a little bit more traction. I failed so many times and I know where I want to go. One thing that I've learned that, you know, no's are just as important as yeses. Like when you say no to something nowadays, for me, as opportunities come and present themselves to me, I have to be just as diligent in saying no to certain ones, just because I know that it won't get me to where I want to go. So for you, because you're trying to, from what's the sound of it, you're trying to build a real estate empire. You want to be in real estate for a while,
Forever,
for a long
probably.
time, right? Like everybody should really. Anybody that wants to build true wealth, I believe, should be in real estate in some capacity. So if that's the case, like if you say that if I'm able to flip this quick deal, make my money, get my money really quickly, I don't know if it would be a 1041 exchange. What's it called?
1031
exchange into this new property. Would that be like, so that one property that you just mentioned is 1.3 million, you said?
Mm-hmm.
The down payment, or how much would like you need for closing on that?
Well, that's
Or did
still,
you need it all
that's
cash?
Still, it depends. That's still so far like in advance. I mean, that's one of those things that when the time isn't here yet, right? Because the family is still like, oh, it's filled with my mom's stuff and we don't know what to do with the stuff
Oh,
inside.
so it's like fresh.
And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, you know, like
How much time do you need?
this is just problems that people have. Like, believe
Right.
it or not. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Do you deal with that a lot? Where it's like people that
no,
inherited?
because I do mostly commercials.
Oh, okay.
But these are I deal with that now when I'm looking for the deals for myself.
Got it. Because you're out there now looking for the single family homes for you to buy yourself,
Yeah.
not just commercial. Do you own any commercial real estate currently?
No.
No, not yet. Is that something you want to get into? Or?
Yeah, that's like the goal.
But that's big money, right? Like that's on another level.
Not even. I mean,
No?
it's just steps, you know?
Yeah, because you already have all the connections, right? Like you could be your own broker or whatever.
Yeah, I know how to do it.
Right.
It's just about finding the right deal, having enough liquid to go into it.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So let's say like a small shopping center or whatever.
That's my goal, to start with a small shopping center.
Yeah.
And realistically, at 21, when I started doing commercial real estate, I was like the youngest person to do it. Like,
Oh, really?
none of my other friends were doing commercial real estate.
Right.
And I would go to the commercial conferences and all these things, and I was a baby, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody else was doing that. But I knew that I wanted to do it not for a super long term, but more to learn how the business works from the inside out, and then being able to buy these things myself and know what to look for and all these things.
What gravitated you towards like commercial real estate versus just real estate, like residential?
I was dating a girl, and she was working for an office, and she was like the secretary there, like just the
Okay.
front desk girl. And dude, I was super young, and I felt like it sucks. But you know, when you're right at that age where like people are popping bottles and
Yeah.
all these things at 21 and all these things, I'm like, man, I really wish I could do that. And then it's just like you're so attracted to money for the wrong reasons.
Right.
But then this girl was like, oh wow, I just saw this check, and she would send me pictures of like the checks of the brokers in her office what they were closing. She's like, oh, these commercial guys are closing crazy deals. Look at this check that this one guy got. Look at this other check.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like, okay, that's how I can go buy bottles. In other words, you know. So that's genuinely what got me into commercial real estate. It's kind of weird.
And then you ended up just like liking it, right?
Yeah.
You enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because now, how long has it been since you've been doing commercial real estate?
like 12 years.
12 years, man. Like, yeah. So it started with something, you know, very
Yeah.
immature, I guess, or whatever. But
And it was rough back then because, I mean, I would go to the office after pulling all-nighters and partying and all that stuff, you know, so I didn't really make that much money. But even making a little bit of money back then felt like a lot.
right, because you could buy the bottles.
No, you could just extend it. Like,
Oh.
you know, you could extend. The responsibilities were different.
Right. Oh, because you were still living at home and all that.
I was still living at home, and it's just like, you know, as long as you can pay for your car and
Right.
your gas money and insurance and this and that and your food,
Right.
like, no one had, you know, we didn't have mortgages or none of that stuff.
Right.
Which I wish I would have started with way bigger responsibilities, but everybody lives through life, man.
For sure, man. No, I think that you have you know, solid foundation, man. It sounds like you got a great example in your parents. The fact that your dad is also in like the real estate business as a like developer type of thing is a huge tool in your toolbox, man.
Yeah.
And that'd be dope for you. Would this be, whichever one that you end up going with, the first property that you develop with your dad? Have you ever
Yeah.
done that before?
No,
Oh,
I haven't done that
And
before.
because he's been after you to do it.
Well, I worked with him for a couple of years, but I did not like it, and I wish I would have stuck with that. But when I was younger, oh my God, waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the job site, it
Yeah.
was the worst.
Yeah, so
I was like, I just got home. What do you mean we gotta leave? You know?
So you kind of had a sour taste in your mouth with the whole construction vibe, right?
Yeah, and it was like, oh, you know, we gotta put this wall up, and oh, we can't because this is happening. It was always like, it was just putting out fires. And
Yeah.
imagine putting out fires, being 21,
Yeah.
2 hours of sleep. You're like,
Yeah.
this ain't for me.
This ain't for me. And would you consider ever getting like your GC license too?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a
Maybe
lot
in
of
the
money
future.
from what I heard. There's a lot of money to be, because you're basically a broker.
Yeah.
Because you sub out all the work in essence.
Yeah.
Is really just signing off on things from what I've heard, right?
Yeah.
That's something that you'd been interested in, kind of taking off. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure your dad has clientele now, or like
sure.
people that
It's
come back
something
to
that
him.
I'm interested in, but I think it's not something that I'm going
Right
to do
now.
now. It's just
Right.
something that could happen in the future.
Yeah,
Man, we got a lot on our plate.
a lot.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
I don't want to sound like I'm really busy, but doing a lot of things.
Doing a lot of things, which is, you know, it's good, and it's crazy for you, that fact that you are doing a lot of things, but yet you feel like you're not.
Oh,
even,
because I'm always gonna feel that way. It's just
I feel like if you, as a
just
dude,
accepted it. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I could be busy as hell.
yeah,
Get home and be like,
haven't done nothing.
I'm not doing enough.
right. You know, I can relate with that honestly, because there's times that I've shot, like today, for instance, I shot like 3 or 4 podcasts, or I've done X, Y, Z in deals. I jumped on a coaching call and all of that. And then for whatever the reason, I still feel like I haven't done enough.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, I feel it's a good drive that we have. Those that do carry that, because you know that there's still more to achieve.
Yeah.
Because the enemy of us being able to reach our goal is complacency. If we get complacent, it's like, yo, I'm chilling here.
sure.
Which I will say, there's been times that I'm like, yo, I did so good like during this season.
Yeah.
Like I'm just chilling with my wife. I'm chilling with my kids and all of that. I'm sure you experience, like, I just want to relax, go on the boat with the family.
Yeah.
But there's times, the majority of the time, that I'm like, dude, I just need to go.
Yeah.
And funny thing is, I don't know, how do you go about like rewarding yourself and like through your business? Like, oh, I should treat myself to this car or to this whatever. Do you have anything like that?
I mean, in a deal that I closed, I thought was pretty big. I bought this watch, and I found it like,
You pulled a Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Did you know that Kevin Hart does that?
really?
Yeah, he went on Grant Cardone's 10X growth conference
Okay.
once, and Grant Cardone had him come on stage and, you know, share with the people. And he says that every watch that he wears is tied back to a deal or something that he
nice.
did. And then it's not just, you know how there's people that do get tattoos and it resembles a moment in time in their
Yeah.
life that is they want to remember for a while. Well, fun fact is that Kevin Hart does that, but with watches. So whenever you see a watch and it's like a stainless steel, whatever, he was wearing a stainless steel Datejust, or I don't know what it was, but something. And it was Grant Cardone asked him, he's like, what's that watch what's that?
Yeah.
What happened? And he's like, oh, that's when Cold as Balls went, his podcast kind of thing where they get into like have you seen that? Where he gets into cold plunges with his guests.
Okay.
So when that reached, I don't know what level, he was able to, he got that watch.
Very
so it's
cool.
cool that you did that as well.
Yeah.
To like,
but I always have like a meter, so like I can close a big deal and still be like, you're not deserving anything yet. You know?
Oh, really?
It's just kind of.
So what is the? Is it like just?
It's just
intuition,
like
the timing
internal
thing?
meter.
Yeah, it's not a real gauge.
Realistically, like it's just not a certain thing or a certain number
Right.
at all. Like, dude, sometimes like you close a super fat deal and you're hungrier than ever, and you're not spending $1.
Right.
You know.
That's true.
And there's times they're like the deal isn't that big, but you're like, ooh, I'm gonna go get that. You know.
What is something that you've splurged on? Would you say that most people wouldn't? I guess like splurge and like dropped money on and say like, I don't know if anybody else would do this. The Camaro?
Yeah, the Camaro for sure. We were on vacation and my mom we walked into, I don't know, one of these like Louis stores or I forgot. She wanted like a purse.
Yeah.
And I saw the price of the purse and I was like, what? I was like, yo, mom, don't do that. That's crazy. And she was like, what do you mean? Like, whatever. And she tried to justify it and I was like, nah, that's ridiculous. Like, no one should spend $4,000 on a purse. Right. And then my dad was like, yo, how much was your turbo kit? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, all right.
Yeah, touche.
So,
it's one of those things where it's like everybody has their own motives and all that. The thing that how my wife justifies, name brand purses and all of that is that they hold their value. Some of them go up in value, just like your watch. Blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, but don't like turn this on me because that's what they do. They'll literally use the same words that you say, and use them against you.
I know. So that's one of those things that it's just things that probably nobody else is gonna see or notice, but I know that that's there, and that's what makes me feel good. So
right.
It's my passion.
And what would you say is the Camaro like the project that you've been going to be working on for the next? How long do you think it'll take for you to complete
probably
it?
Just a couple more months.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bought it last January, so it's been 12 months. This is something that would probably take 3 years. I was watching something today, and this guy took 10 years to build his.
Really?
But I've been like, I knew what I wanted from the start.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it pretty. I'm just trying to make it savage.
Right.
Something to match my style, something to represent me that I could drive around and be like, yo, this is me.
This is that definitely sounds like you, bro. Because is it something that the other one? What was the name of the one that I've seen?
Model A.
The Model A, because that thing is beast, bro. Like I love how
man.
it has the fat tires, and I don't think I personally would I fit? I'm 6'4". Would I fit in that thing?
No,
right?
No, and that's pure manifestation, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
A
lot of these cars are pure manifestation, bro. Even down to my Jeep. I was thinking about driving my Jeep. I went to go buy it, and the guy wanted $5,000 for it, and I offered him like 45, and then 46, and with all these things. And point is that I didn't go up to the 5,000, and I was like, oh, it's about the principle. How's the guy putting something up on Craigslist and not even dropping $1?
Yeah.
I walked away from the deal. Then I was like, that night I was like, bro, I need to buy that Jeep. So I hit the guy up. He's like, nah, never mind. I'm not gonna sell it anymore. My brother-in-law's gonna keep it. Like, we're just gonna keep it in the family, bro. And I moved back down from Tallahassee. I was just visualizing myself in the Jeep with the harness, driving it down US 1, listening to like, I was into dubstep back then, like in 2011, and I'm just driving in my head. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I need this car. And then like 2 weeks later, the guy calls me. Same thing happened with the Model A.
Really?
I saw that car online and I was like, oh my God, I need this. You know, the guy put it up for sale. I didn't have the money at all, so I sent it over to my buddy, and I was like, yo, we should buy this car between the two of us. He's like, oh, it would be cool. And it was like back when Instagram showed you like posted 32 seconds ago.
Yep.
You know, and I refreshed and it said like pending already. So it was like somebody jumped on it super quick, and I was like, oh my God. And then the guy that bought it, he would get letters like all the time, like left on his windshield, like, hey, 25,000, I'll buy it right now. And then the guy would, offers. But I was reaching out to this guy, like if it was like real estate deal, I had to just follow up on the guy. I was like hitting him up every other week, like, yo, don't forget, I'm the next.
Stay top of mind.
I'm the next buyer. Don't forget, I'm the next buyer. You know. And guy had it for like a year, did a bunch of things to it, and then hit me up. Oh no, then I see that he posted it for sale. But this whole entire time, I've been like
consistent.
just
Or visualizing it.
Visualizing. And talking to my friends about it, I was like, you imagine pulling up somewhere in this car? Or like, yo, look at this. And like, bro, it has a Honda motor that's super reliable. You could drive this thing anywhere. Like, super passionate about it.
Right.
I was like, already,
geeked out about it.
I already owned it in my head. You know?
Yeah.
And dude, the guy hits me up and he's like, bro, my bad. I did put it for sale. Like 200 people have hit me up. Very wealthy guy. So he was like, I'm not trying to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
You want it? And I was like, for sure. How much you selling it for? He's like, 35,000. Like, great. I don't have 35,000, you know? So I just told the guy, like, listen, bro, I don't know. I have 17,000 in my bank account. Complete. Like, this is all my money.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, you don't want to stay with nothing. So, like, shoot me 15 and then you can have some money for shipping and stuff. And I was like,
yo, what?
like, yo, this is
So he didn't even care about the money per se. He just wanted the right person, I guess.
he
to
just
have it.
wanted the right person. So then he's like, yo, and then send me half now, and when you get the car, send me the other half, which is crazy.
Wow.
It doesn't really happen either.
Right.
I got the car. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, bro, I fucking love it. It's a little rough. He's like, okay, cool. So what do you want to do? Like, just take off another 1,000, send me 14. And dude, that's a car I've gotten offered like 120 grand for before a couple times.
Really?
Like famous people have hit me up constantly to buy that car.
No way.
Yeah.
And it's because obviously it's in a different state than when you originally got it, right? Like you've added.
Yeah,
you've
yeah. I
added
got
stuff to
built
it.
in Arizona, then it went to Texas, and then from Texas I bought it.
Wow.
And
how much have you
manifestation,
invested?
bro? You just have to
Yeah,
picture that
that's
you already
crazy.
own these things.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I've also, I guess, manifested certain things in my life, but you know that I've never manifested anything like that. But again, I'm not passionate about cars like you
Yeah.
are, and I love to see that when because obviously that's one of those different like cars that are so different. Like you don't normally I've never seen a car like that.
No.
To this day,
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that in person at all. I've just seen it on your Instagram.
Yeah.
If I bump into
I
something
was
like
about
that,
to
I'm
drive
like,
it here, and I was like,
is it loud? Is it super loud?
it's
Or
normal.
regular?
Yeah, it's regular.
Okay, yeah, you should have brought it, bro.
I should have brought it. I know.
Maybe next time. But so, would you ever consider selling it?
I have considered selling it. The thing is that that's a car that represents
Your
my
brand.
brand. So, for example, like there's sponsorships that, dude, my fuel system, complete fuel system for the Camaro. I call up the company. I'm like, hey, my name's Ricky Boada. I'm looking into this. The guy's like, oh my God, bro, don't you own this car? Yeah. Oh, just tell me what. Dude sends me everything for free.
Wow.
Just because, like,
Yeah,
I had the
because you have the car.
connection that I had a car that the guy happened to like.
Right. Yeah. So
And
you can't get
that
rid
type
of
of things. I'm just like, all right, cool. This month the car made me, $5 grand.
or saved you because
Saved me
of
$5 grand on parts.
Yeah. So yeah. It's
And
not
I've
one-
rented it out for music videos and stuff like that. It
Oh,
was
have you?
$400, $700, which like
just to show up, like just to
show
pull
up,
up.
park it there for a couple hours, and then I'm there like enjoying meeting new people.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation starter too.
How do you get that rented out? Like they just hit you up on Instagram type of thing? Like
Yeah, I've rented out that. I've rented out my ATV too, like where people are like, there's people that dedicate themselves to just doing that, like prop cars.
Okay.
So I've like made connections with people that
To
just
do
being in the
prop cars.
industry that do that. Yeah.
dude, you have like 7 streams of income then. Something
little bit here,
money
a
come
little bit
a little
there.
here, a little there, and you have possibly a flip coming up or something like that.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what transpired. Keep me posted on what that how that turns out. If
For
you end
sure.
up developing, hopefully you do develop something with your dad. It sounds like
I think I'm
something
gonna do that route to like experience that. There's a lot of things that I'm very thankful that my dad is still around, and I'm like, man, I got to do this
Right.
before he gets too old.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That's one of those other things. Like, I want to get a 911. That's his favorite car too.
Oh, is it?
Before he gets too old, so
Right.
like that he can enjoy it too. You know? Things like that.
Yeah, I think that'll be definitely meaningful. The fact that he's been on you for 6 years to like develop something together or something like that, it would be
Yeah.
dope. And it could literally be a window that opens up for you for other stuff. Like you can now, I mean, your real estate repertoire just opens up so vastly when you don't
Yeah.
just sell commercial real estate or just residential, but now you can start developing and all of that.
Yeah.
Have you
That's-
shot your dad business? Like, hey, I
For
got
sure.
a client that
a bunch.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like
I
they'll
shoot
buy a
business all the time.
for real?
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. So cool. So, I mean, dude, I think we've gone a pretty good amount of time. We've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from you that I didn't even know. You have some pretty cool stories,
Thank
and I
you,
know we
man.
can keep going for
Yeah.
hours, bro. But maybe there's a part 2. Maybe the development happens.
Maybe you could be on my podcast.
There we go.
Hey.
Maybe I could come to your podcast and we'll talk about a little bit more of my stuff. But I'm excited to see what happens, man. What God has in store for you, your wifey, getting to know her, all these different things, double dates. You know what I'm saying? Let's go, a little double dates here in Miami. But dude, where can people find you?
Ricky Boada. That's how I've branded myself across all social media.
Perfect.
And that's what it is. And Ricky Boada en Español.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
You're doing Spanish content?
I have Spanish YouTube channel.
Oh, there you go. So you
which
can,
has been growing tremendously.
and is it same content, like cars, same content, but just
Cars.
in Spanish?
Cars?
Cars.
Yeah.
So it's cars and just in Spanish.
Yes, because that community is backing me up crazy.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Spanish. Well, there you go, guys. You know where you can find Ricky. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe, to like, to comment, say where Ricky's gonna find his future wife, whatever it is. Put it in the comments. And as always, I'll see you at the top. Let's go. Peace.